right. I think I'm back. I believe I'm back. So I don't know how many of you are going to still be online. It says none, but never mind. If you come, you come, right? So there we go. Okay. We have got Charlene is back, right? So as I was saying, yes, I get to draw. I'm drawing the female form, and I'm enjoying it, but not in the way that those guys in the comment section of my Gracie Goodbear Instagram post necessarily think, right? All right, as you can all see with this video here, right now I'm going to focus on the facial expression here. So I'm going to put her eyes up high. So I'm back online. I reset my router, which means that this live stream is gonna be in two parts, right? We've had 2 hours with the previous one. I'm gonna keep this going for another hour maybe. Right. So I'm gonna really open the mouth here and have fun. I may stick her tongue out, right? Really take this a lot further than I would have before I studied the great John Lounsbury, right? So now this is an up angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of like her head like an arrow, right? And like everything is going to be kind of like focusing on that, and I'm going to put her little chin underneath there, but then balance that out like that with the ear, right? So that's the up angle, right? And the wiry hair will follow through here to balance the up angle, right? So in this regard we can really play around with the hair to create a nice silhouette with the character. Who's back? We've got La Patel, El Patel. We've got Black Belt. We've got Black Belt Jones online. I love Jim Kelly, man. Williams. Mr. Williams is what it was all about, right? So we've got the up angle here. We've got Culture Scene Art, Zedpo, the lovely Hervonia Baker. Hervonia Baker is a true Gracie fan, right? Says I really appreciate that. She got herself some Gracie merchandise. So truly appreciate that, Hervonia. Right? So this hair is going to come up here like this. So you see, now we've had some developments. As I'm doing this hair, I'm going to have to create a new archive for the training library, because I used to have in the training library an anime effects study and breakdown archive, but this is now no longer available to buy. But the people who bought it, don't worry, you still have access to it. But as fair use and copyright laws and all those things are getting more and more vague, I don't want AMB Animation to come under any form of attack. I'm going to put this head down here actually. Yeah. So I'm going to check that arc though, because I wanted it to arc. Yeah, that arc's fine. So what that means is, as I'm doing the wave of this hair, this is like kind of effects, right? I'm going to have to do a dedicated effects animation archive, because the Real Animator training library leaves no stone unturned, right? And I thought a good way to learn effects would be to look at some of the, because I really rate the effects in anime cartoons. So we looked at fire, we looked at smoke, we looked at water, and we really studied it, because there's not much to effects. They're quite, the rules are quite simple, but what makes effects good is when we start to research, effects. That's what makes effects animation good, because it's the authenticity of capturing the effect and then exaggerating it what makes it good. Otherwise it's all very, like fire, water and smoke can all pretty much work the same way. They all follow this wave principle, right? So we're going to have this foot come under here, right? Now as I do this heel, I've got to keep in mind the angle, right, of it, right? So I do something like that. And it's there. Right? We've got it. We've got the angle. Right? Now here's where we're going to have the thing that would probably, I was mentioning, would probably annoy a lot of the Insta haters, but that's, to me, authentic anatomy. And that's what I like putting into the drawing. So what I do have to think about though is the foot. Like this. Right, so I'm gonna think about the hair. Right, so we're gonna have that come there like this. Now I have to kind of frame this hair so it doesn't interfere. I haven't heard your Groundhopper pilot with the OG soundtrack. That is the OG soundtrack. The placeholder soundtrack was from the Shenmue video game. Right, so let's do the mirror on that. That's pretty good. That kind of balances. So now let's add some costume to it. So the costume is 1, 2 on the center there, right? It's going to be like this. We'll put some drag on that top. Like that. So I'm going to open the button out there. That looks cool. So here with the costume, I'm really playing with the angle, right? And I'm not necessarily going to tidy this one up the way I tidy the other one up, right? Because it's a strong enough drawing, right? Here we put the pants. And the leg warmers. So I'll work with this one now. So I'm glad that that's sorted out, because now I'm not sure if my friend who was asking me the questions is still online, Theo, but he asked me about staging, and I never really got to talk about the Real Animator Training Library in that regard, which is why we watched the Groundhopper instead. But now my internet is back. But first, before we do that, let me... So we've got those main poses there, right? Now we just got 2 breakdowns either side to do between them, right? I'm not going to tidy this one up. It works as it is. So, very quickly, I was asked about staging, and I gave him that example. But if you go to ambanimation.com, right, and you can click to join the Real Animator Training Library. It'll take you to this page here with an overview of it all, and a little bit about me, right? If you click join now, you've got the option to get the bundles. So you can click on these and they'll tell you what's in various bundles. The master bundle pretty much has everything in it bar the anatomy archive. And if we go into the professional animation lectures archive, professional animation lectures, we begin the whole archive with the law of staging. Now this archive is priced for professionals. Yes, she's performing the thriller. But before we learn anything about storyboarding, we've got to learn about staging. So we have a 51-minute video. There's no chat in any of these videos. It's pure lecture. 51-minute video where we talk about how to communicate with the audience. Basically, then we have a 1 hour 20-minute video of editing and continuity, followed by a 1 hour 20-minute on camera angles and shots, followed by 1 hour 40 minutes of camera moves and transitions, followed by let me just check my mic. The blue snowball is active, yeah. Followed by 1 hour 30 minutes on background sets and props, followed by 1 hour 20 minutes on shot composition, and finally 1 hour 10 minutes on mood lighting, color and camera lens. So before we do any storyboarding or any kind of thing like that, we need to understand what staging is. Then we have 14-part videos on how to storyboard and animate a music video, right? And the music video is an intro, an 80s intro style. You talk about Gen X stuff, right? We've got this 80s style intro to a... so you basically watch me storyboard this over 14 lectures. Now I'm going to find this so you can see the caliber of what this is. So if I go into my project and I go into I click on this, you basically learn, you watch the whole thing storyboarded in rough, not finished, right? Because you're not going to learn watching me do finished drawings. So you watch this whole thing, how it was made, right?
Soaring through the stars to free the universe from the savage spirits. Apollo continues his quest to merge the power centers and charge his infinity blade to triumph over the evil energy of Phoberos. Raise the infinity sword. Fulfill your destiny. Become the Alpha.
Power that's infinite exists in you. It's light eternal, guides your soul. Now you see an unknown path that you must take. And when your energy's aligned, you win the fight. Resist with the power, don't believe it, become the Alpha. Flames of firing energy. We must persist with the power, don't believe it, become the Alpha. Flames of firing energy rising.
So, basically that was the intro to a series that I'm planning, which is what I'd much rather be doing than Gracie Goodway, by the way, but it's just not ready at the moment to be put out as a Kickstarter. But more importantly, in the professional archive, that was amazing, right? That was absolutely amazing. All those old shows like Thundercats, Jason the Wheel Warriors, all those amazing intros. How do you storyboard? How do you tell a story like that? How do you condense that much information? So in the professional archive of the Real Animator Training Library, I walk you through it. All right? Now, this is a professional archive. It's not for beginners, right? So if you watch it and you think, well, you're just showing how you do, and you're not teaching, okay, there's a hierarchy to Real Animator Training. So we have got Basics Archive, Intermediate Archive, Anatomy Archive, Advanced Archive, and Professional Archive. These are the training archives of the training library. So I'm not going to play it all, but in the basics, basically, you're going to learn simple things like this. Not the rabbit. Okay, he's just for a bit of fun.
The Basics Archive has been designed specifically to make you a master of those core fundamental animation exercises. We begin with a bouncing ball and then move on to a jumping ball. After that, we start playing around with the timing and the spacing to generate different speeds and weights to the ball. We also have a swinging pendulum exercise that's designed to really maximize our understanding of arcs. The point of doing these exercises is to drum home those core principles of timing, spacing, slowing in, slowing out, and arcs. It's vitally important to learn these exercises through simple shapes and lines so that you can transition onto more complex shapes as you progress.
Really good.
Once we
really
have
good
completed the
exercise
ball
of
and
that.
pendulum series, we then transition onto our side view walk cycle series. You will learn the cycles one section.
Okay, so here you are, basic walk cycles, right? I'm not going to play the whole thing, right? We all know we can look at all these different lecture series if we just have a preview, okay? So you're going to go through, none of the exciting stuff that you saw in the professional archive. Right, I have to say this because I received a comment from one of my latest archive release. If I just go to my channel and I go to comments, right, I don't know if this guy was just trolling or if he really meant it, right? But basically, on this video here, which is my latest edutainment archive, I got this comment: "Hello, but your tutorial does not help. You make it so confusing, like every single website costs money. I do not have time to waste money. And is this teaching? It's not teaching, I say. It's just diabolical that you're flexing on beginners, and I do not have any of those crazy art skills. So, your tutorial is just about flexing how good you are." So, one, this is not a tutorial, all right? I'll explain about this. I explained a little earlier, right? Real animator training, this is the problem with self-taught animators online, right? Self-taught animators online want to be doing this stuff from the get-go. And all they're doing is playing. They're not really doing anything. If you really want to do stuff, you got to go through the baby stuff. The bouncing balls, the swinging pendulums, the basic walk cycles, right? So we're going to go through so many different walk cycles where you break it down. The legs, the body, the arms. Look, the timing charts of walk cycles. You know, in order to get to that level, you've got to, I mean, I don't know what Kool-Aid that guy's drinking, right? I mean, maybe he's commenting on Aaron Blaze's videos as well, because I don't really watch Aaron Blaze. I don't have time to watch other YouTube artists, because I kind of got my own thing going. I think I'm pretty secure about my own animation. If I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna learn how to do gymnastics moves like the planche or entrepreneurial skills. I'm not really gonna, you know. But what I've seen of his stuff, all the guy ever does is, you know, according to that guy, flex. You know, so I mean, I honestly don't know what that guy's Kool-Aid is on. I mean, if you're demonstrating with things that people want to see, to kind of entice them to say, hey, if you really want to get good, you know, to do this stuff properly, then you got to really actually think about what it is that you want to do. You got to actually go through basics. So after basics, and this is you go through intermediate study. An intermediate study, I'm not going to play all of it, but you'll have a little look and you get the idea.
Character animation is the focus of the Intermediate Archive, and it's where you will learn exactly how to express character into movements via the 12 laws of animation. You will begin with the law of solid drawing, where you'll understand how to construct and keep form of a simple sack character that you will be using for many of the exercises in this archive. Next is a 3-part lecture series on the law of squash and stretch. This goes far beyond the simple deformations that you learned in the basics archive, and you will learn exactly how to draw and design shapes that squash and stretch with appeal and animate in a convincing and effective manner.
All right, that's enough of that. Right, that's enough of that. Like you can watch, but over here, we cover all the, you know, after the basic ball and pendulum, then you're ready to do a flower sack. So I honestly don't know what planet that guy is on, whether he actually looked at my content when he clicked the link, or he just wants to moan because he doesn't want to do the real thing. So Real animator training takes you beyond the flour sack and into, we go into more complicated human walk cycles that go on for 4 steps, right? And then we go through animals, but we don't draw animals that look like amazing Disney animals, right? We draw animals that are like stick animals, but which have stick anatomy, so you understand anatomy while you're drawing this ugly looking stick animal. But it's something that you're going to be able to learn and transition those skills into drawing beautiful looking Disney animals, or anime animals if you want. So I'm really, I'm not going to talk about the advanced archive. I'm not going to talk any more about real animator training, except for one thing actually. There are 2 kinds of training archives in the library, right? So we've got a comment here. Thank you, Kyle. You said, I totally feel what that guy was saying, but about Blaze. I love his work, and I find he's not the best at teaching. You seem to be the real deal. Thank you, but I understand that different people like different things, right? I personally have a lot of respect for Mr. Blaze, and I don't want to compare myself with him. Right? What I offer, I believe I offer completely different to what I've seen, what he offers. I have a lot of his students come onto my thing. Maybe he has some of mine. I have honestly no idea. But what I say is basically there's something for everybody. So I'm not going to shut the kind of people that like, say, Mr. Blaze's content off my channel. So I'm going to give them similar content to what I feel he gives, but the way I would do it. There's no point in me trying to copy him. I've got to do it my way. So I'll do an archive like this, animating a scene from start to finish. And it's what I call it. I don't call it training. I call it edutainment. So we've got 2 sections. If you go to Real Animator Training, join the Real Animator Training. It's said quite clearly here when you join. It says you now have 0 excuses. Industry professionals, college graduates from the most established courses are signing up to this course, and you're getting the training they still desire for the price of an iPad, a mid-range laptop. Welcome to the Real Animator Training Library. Okay, the bundles are available. Then it says training archives, right? Below training archives it says edutainment archives. The content in these archives is both educational and enjoyable. Instruction and information is presented in a casual, informal, and intuitive manner, right? The training, powerful step-by-step instructions presented in an over-the-shoulder format. These archives are mostly presented as structured courses and are specifically designed to be followed by the viewer. Very different, right? So this course is not a course, it's a seminar. Animating a scene, the complete process from start to finish, is my version of creating interesting content for people that don't really want to see the real kind of balls and sticks and all that. They want to see the nice, appealing animation, but I'm still going to present it in my way. So I'll turn out a piece of animation like this, but then I will present it in a 14-part series where I still give as thorough explanation as I can. And the closest thing you can liken these lectures to is if you were on a degree course and a guest animator like Glenn Keane or Eric Goldberg came to give a talk. And they gave a talk, and I've given you basically, a 14-part talk where each video is around 3 hours. Granted, we go off topic and we have fun and we talk, and there are live streams like this, but you're going to get tons of valuable information. You are who you hang around with. You're hanging around with one of the best animators in the world, and if that guy thinks it's just flexing, what can I say, right? But there's something for everyone in the Real Animator Training Library. There's hardcore courses for you to follow step by step, or there are Streams much like what we're doing today, right? You're watching me animate something so much fun. A cute, sexy cartoon pin-up girl bear thing dancing Michael Jackson Thriller, right? YouTube content. YouTube content. But what differs me from the other YouTubers is I actually try to load it with as much valuable information as I can, so that people who are pros can get it, people who are intermediates can get something from it, and people who are absolute beginners can have some takeaways too. I'm planning on making my own comic. We'll see where the Kickstarter thing takes me. We'll see. Right, okay, so now I'm going to get between this pose and this pose. So let me do the easy one. Let me just come between here and here, right? So we're going to put this, and what she does is she basically, if I can see it, it's this here, right? So I'm going to put that leg rise up. This leg is going to go down. All right. The body's going to come up. The arms come up. We're going to open the arms out wide like that. I'm going to try and arc it like this, but not like a flat, like I'm going into inwards like this, right? That's what I'm thinking with the arm. See, as I draw, that's what I mean. Like, I try my best, right? I try my best to, as I'm drawing, to, even when I'm doing this super high level content, to try and share about the arcs and what we're actually doing. Right. So we're going to have something like that. The foot's going to come down. Okay, right. So that's how I'm going to settle into that. Right? We can finally see where this is going. But then these are just the main poses. It's got to be timed out, right? Right, but let's go in and let's animate now. Let's I've got to go between here and here, right? So I'm going to play anatomy here, right? I want to see muscles and bones squashing and stretching and flexing, right? So we're going to be on the tiptoes, right? Got to get my foot into place, right? So that knee is going to be high. That angle is going to be off, right? We're going to have that thigh come here, right? So again, to illustrate my point, right? You people in the chat, I don't need to convince on this, but just so, like, just to go back to like the mentality of people who draw, right? I don't know, like some people just want to draw this, they're not safe for work stuff and all this and that. Maybe they're on a different planet, right? I don't judge them for that. I like pin-up art. That can be conceived not safe for work. But personally, for me, when I'm animating something like this, right? My thing is okay, how would the knee spring? I'm least of all interested in the salacious aspects, right? Or the things that the normies think that you think about when you draw, right? So I'm really trying to like feel the knee anatomy working. Even though it's a cartoon, I want to simplify that, right? I want to feel that in my artwork. That's what really gives me a sense of satisfaction when doing this stuff, right? And doing it in a way that it's real but not real, right? It's flawed, but by the human hand, like the way AI wouldn't do it, right? AI would do this, but it would either be too accurate, like it's rotoscoped, with a Snapchat filter put on it, or it would be like a cutout rig thing with Studio Ghibli style drawings, right? Floating around in a very uncanny manner, right? So this, for me, is the beauty of hand-drawn animation. Like really seeing and feeling that anatomy working is such a joy to me, right? It's just like that's the fun part. Adding a bit of follow through, overlap and drag on the wrist, right? That's why while I love overly cartoon characters and I really got into doing Art the Badger, my personal pleasure is always doing more humanistic designs, right? Because I just love the human form, and I love capturing it and watching it work, the mechanics, the mechanism, the anatomy. Like I spend all this time studying, like I'm gonna get it out here again because it's always handy. You know, you make statements and you got to back up your words. I spend all this time studying human anatomy, right? This is my workout, right? Pages and pages and pages of anatomy study, because that stuff really interests me. So it is kind of funny when the triggered few want to hijack the comment section of my work, right? But I guess from my perspective, if I'm going to be doing a character like this, then I have to expect it. And to not expect it is naive and foolish, right? And actually, they actually help Gracie Goodbear because they keep the comment section alive. So now what's happening, we were talking about effects animation. What are my favorite TV cartoons? My most favorite, as you well know, oh, you're not you, Grayson, is The Legend of Prince Valiant. A very poorly animated cartoon. Very poorly animated, but for storytelling, one of the main reasons you're watching me doing what I'm doing right here, right now, and you're benefiting from my animation training is because of The Legend of Prince Valiant. I love the Hal Foster comic. Like, to me, Hal Foster comic is some of the best artwork ever done. But I never knew Hal Foster when I was growing up in the 90s and was a 13-year-old. All I knew was the cartoon that featured Robbie Benson's voice, right? Who I would like him to voice the Groundhopper purely just because of that. And it was about a young guy whose parents didn't believe in him, but he had a vision of a kingdom called Camelot, and he wanted to be a knight of the Round Table, and he followed his dream until he finally made it. And man, did I love that show. So it wasn't even an 80s cartoon that was my favorite. But aside from that, you've got Thundercats, He-Man, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, Brave Star, the Real Ghostbusters, right? These were my kind of cartoons, right? As I said, AMB Animation produces Gen X style content, right? You can really see that anatomy working there in that pose. I'm just gonna simplify it a little bit, right? So let's bring the brush size down a tad. What about your fave from an animation standpoint, not story? TV animation is not really worth exploring in that regard. It's terrible. It's I can't really like TV animation is overall just like there's not a single piece of TV animation that's particularly good in my opinion from an animation standpoint, right? There's stuff that's perhaps better than others because it's been cleverly designed, but it's still pretty poor, like Batman, right? That's great design, great layouts, great atmosphere, simple shapes to move, but still pretty poor. It's still pretty simple things they animate wrong and loads of mistakes. The animation of the Disney TV cartoons was terrible. It was well drawn and it was nicely designed. Gummy Bears, DuckTales, and all that, but Tailspin and all that. But very, I mean, I knew some of the people who did the layout posing for that because there was a Disney Toons in London. That DuckTales the movie was done in London, and those guys should not have been drawing and animating those characters, but cheap. So the thing is when I was a little kid, I kind of felt the difference, right? It's like watching Aladdin, the King of Thieves, and Aladdin the movie, right? There's nothing in the movie Aladdin, the King of Thieves, or The Return of Jafar that's remotely good, right? It's awful in terms of animation. So here my volume is a bit big, but I can rein them in off stream. It's a simple thing because now I've got to think about the hair. I want the hair to have some weight to it, so we're not gonna reverse the curve of her hair, right? This is something that can't be done with this character. We're just gonna delay it and spring it and bounce it down, right? That's another skill, is animating follow through, overlap, and drag. Yeah, so TV cartoons, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if I'll have the budget, but I'm going to try with, if I can make an Alpha Man, my TV cartoon, I'm going to try to make that have stunning animation, but really, it's difficult. It's difficult. And of course, I don't even consider the 2D cutout puppet rigged stuff to be animation, right? I call that automation, right? Most of the animators working on that stuff have the skill of a checkout person at a supermarket, right? They just go doot doot doot, and now you can do it yourself. So that's what I think 2D puppet animation is. I'm sorry if I offend people, but that's what I believe. Very low level skilled people, and now AI can do it, so no need to worry about just like the checkout. And I've said all this stuff. There's a video of me called "Animation is My Superpower" where you can literally quote me saying that way before the first piece of modern AI. AI has always been around, that's why I said that, but a lot of people think AI is a new thing, right? So I've been saying for a decade that we're going to have Snapchat filters and kids are going to be able to animate their own Pixar quality animation through Snapchat filters. I've got to bear in mind that her top is holding her bust in place, so we got to keep them contained like that. So again, here I have to simplify the anatomy into simple strokes of line, right? Which can then be simplified further. Right. So I'm going to keep that knee in mind. Right. That there. Right. Perfect. I'll come and check the comments in a minute. Again, I was mentioning that I'm going to have to build a new effects archive for the training library. That's what I'm thinking. So that's put a spanner in my works of some of the things that I was planning to do with the professional archive, because I've suddenly now don't have any effects content available in the training library for new members. The legacy members will be able to continue enjoying their anime effects archive, but it is what it is, right? So there we have the simplified form there. I grew up watching Aladdin original movie. I loved them all, but as you said, the animation quality was not top. Yeah, it was awful. Aladdin was my favorite film as a kid. I even wanted to marry a woman that looked like Jasmine, and I have. I've got a beautiful, stunning wife. Now I am flexing, right? But the thing is basically what makes me laugh is the comments in Instagram, right? Because I draw Gracie Goodbear, I am flexing, basically. I'm almost 50, and apologies for the flexing, but what is it? I'm going to do. And I've got a stunning looking wife. But people who watch my Gracie Goodbear, I don't know what play they're going. The guy who animated this must be grossly obese and live in a basement and not have a girlfriend. Man, it is so satisfying reading these comments. Like such things that they don't trigger me at all. They just make me laugh. Like you couldn't be further from the truth. Be further from the truth. Right. So. I'm gonna have this leg warmer here. So what happens is we literally start adding the clothing on top. And everything becomes very, very simple from that. So the pants, I'm going to turn off that, and I'm going to see I've got this That's where I made an error, right? I'm using the hip to find the pants, but it comes from the belly, right? So we're going to have more of a line like this to show the anatomy of that belly moving, right? Like this. And now we're going to have we're going to really use get the drapery of this jacket, right? Because it's a stiff, I don't know what the material is. It's not leather, but it's that fake leather. That's what I get the impression that this jacket is. If it's real leather, then that's badass, but it doesn't look like real leather on the video. I mean, it may be, because I mean, it's expensive stuff, right? It may probably cost a fair bit of money to make that video, but for some reason I never thought it was real leather, right? I'm going to keep the collar up, angled up, right, to give it that up feel, right? We're going to have the bust there, and I'm gonna have the up angle like this. But for those of you who are interested, like we've got somebody talking to me about I should make my own comic and all this. I'm working on a page on AMB Animation, which is basically like a mission statement for, like, you know, it's a glorified donation page, but it's gonna really spell out to you, like, if you guys really like what I'm doing, right, and you really want to see good hand-drawn animation continue to be made, or on the flip side, if you're sick and tired of kind of like apologizing for the stuff that you like because it triggers people. Because, you know, like, you may not be like as old as I am. Like I'm a Gen Xer. You might be a Gen Y, right? But like a lot of the stuff you like is being like vilified and demonized, and like, why? I mean, you're not a bad person. You didn't turn out to be a bad human being. You know, it's not like you've really watched anything that you know, it's not like the shows made in the 90s were so, you know, evil or whatever. Like, I mean, so if you're sick and tired of apologizing for liking the stuff that you like, and you want to see stuff like that, that's another reason to get behind and support AMB Animation, because I've got the skills to actually make stuff better than the quality of the stuff that you were raised on, but of the same, in the same vein, right? So that's the beauty of what I'm trying to do. But I'm developing. That's what part of this Thriller thing is about, right? Thriller is a Gen X song. Gracie Goodbear is a Gen X style design. Gen X and Y, but you know, the whole pin-up thing is a very 1950s thing, which is a boomer thing. But in the 80s, Madonna glorified it, right? So, quite frankly, that's the content that I'm making. I'm making 80s style action shows, 70s style kung fu shows, 90s style cartoon animation. That's what AMB Animation is all about. Alright, so almost So we're getting now into that pose. Can we see how we're hitting that pose? We need in-betweens, but we're now using those live action frames that we made our study from, which we can see up here, right? And we've just got one more to do, right? Which is getting into the kick. So let's do that. But before I do that, I'm going to go and see the comics. 90s cartoons didn't have better intros. For me, the Thundercats intro is still the best TV animation intro, period. And I put that above a lot of, Disney cartoons for its coolness. The Jason the Wheeled Warriors, those openings were crazy. Galaxy Rangers, 90s cartoons just couldn't compare. The X-Men animated intro was a mess. A lot of people love X-Men. Cool, you love X-Men, but the animation in that was so messy. It was trying to be like those Thundercats things and with all the camera moves and things, but it was poorly executed. It was very poorly animated. But Stephen Gordon's X-Men Evolution was very nicely designed, and that was a later show. So there was some nice stuff later on. I'm going to put that here. What am I doing? So this is the one what I want to focus on now, the most boring looking pose. Let's put that there. So let's figure out what happens. Lady Tigery Comics. What about the earlier Superman animations? I can remember the exact year, but I want to say the Fleischer ones were very early. Now I like the old Hulk cartoons and Marvel cartoons, but they were very poorly drawn, like Hanna-Barbera, Limited Movement, Scooby-Doo. But I did like the music to the Hulk. How dare you draw lovely ladies, you fiend. Do you prefer simpler designs for animation or stunningly detailed stills? I like milk cow designs. They're both. I was always partial to Batman. I would love to see very nicely cartoon, a breakdown of the animation. I remember thinking the Clayface scene was really good, but it's just, again, it's more of that stuff that anime does. It's like effectsy stuff, like smoke and liquid, a bit of wave cycle, and then balls slow in and then switch to another pose, and then you think it's great, but it's very easy. But it is good, but I'm not. But for me, like breaking it down, I wouldn't learn anything, right? I grew up watching the original series. I'm not a funny guy, but I always liked the animal humanistic style of classic cartoons and animated movies. They were funny and colorful and really appealing to kids. They were, but the funny thing is Bugs Bunny and all that weren't really for kids. Would anthropomorphic characters wear real leather? Yeah, they would. It's like Donald Duck would eat chicken. I don't think that far into it. I love it. I don't. It's like Donald Duck is going and eating a chicken. Roasting it. I'm happy to see a few indie studios bringing appealing art to adult animation. It took me forever to give BoJack a chance. Yeah, I can't watch it. What do you think of Bartok the Magnificent and Joseph King of Dreams? I better be careful, because one of my best friends directed Joseph King of Dreams, the animation in Bardell. I haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it because I don't want to be mean to my best friend. Let's just put it that way. He lives in Canada, Montreal. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Helped me get forward in the UK animation industry a lot. But no, you cannot really talk about Joseph the King of Dreams because it's trying to be like a Prince of Egypt, and Prince of Egypt is amazing, and Joseph King of Dreams shows why Prince of Egypt's amazing and why only a few people can really do this kind of animation well. Anastasia Bartok the Magnificent, haven't seen it, but I've heard that it had some of the original animators from Bluth on there, so maybe. I don't know. I hated the character Bartok in Anastasia anyway. Such an insincere voice. Sounds like a put-on. I'd give her a ha and a double yeah, sir. I will take her for that, sir. I'm not into that kind of thing. Even if you're going to be comedy, you gotta be sincere. Lumiere and Cogsworth, comic voices, but they feel natural. Bartok feels like my friend thinking he's good at voices. No. Crap. I know you said Gen X, but for some reason my brain went to Jetix, which was an old TV channel. I remember that, Jetix. There's a whole generation of college art students now who saw 2D to be abandoned. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I've been waiting for. The Real Animator Training Library is here to resurrect hand-drawn animation. And of course, they're going to go to my alternatives, or the popular ones, but as I said, when the time comes, all those who are serious about learning hand-drawn animation are drawn to the Real Animator Training Library. It nourishes the nervous system and fills the soul, educates the soul with the essential elements that are sorely lacking from the skill set of every self-taught animation artist in this day and age. And quite frankly, they're not going to find them from those other places. I'm patient. They can try. But I know, sooner or later, I've had my haters join my library and then message me about how they used to hate me, but now they kind of understand me now. And I'm like, I'm supposed to take that as a compliment, but thank you for joining my training library. Okay. I meet your Thundercats and raise you a Gargoyles was awful. No, that Batman style, that easy style of drawing. But thank you. We like what we like. Gargoyles intro was not even worth talking about for me, animation wise. You can like the designs if you're into Batman. Some people accuse my AMB lady of looking like the Gargoyles character. I know they're trying to compliment me, but to me that's a huge insult. But I guess we like what we like. But I wouldn't put Gargoyles animation anywhere in my radar. But you know, I don't mean to offend you. I mean, it's just an opinion. But you know, the opening of Men in Black was fire. Not for me. But it was cool. It had a nice music. It had that, you know, Bill Plimpton. It had that French, European, weird kind of look to it. So designery, you might be into that. I thought it was a little weird. And again, designery, because it's designery, it's easier to move. I've been doing animations for Inktober, and it's been difficult. Here's the thing. I've got to do this last frame, but I will talk about it while I'm doing it. Whatever anybody wants to do, right? If you want to do Inktober, great, do Inktober. But personally, so she's going to turn her foot and step here, right? Personally, like, again, I'm talking to the people, not necessarily the commenter about Inktober, right? I'm talking to the people who really want to be good at animation, right? At some point, you've got to really get serious, right? And you've got to say, are you part of a trend, or are you taking charge of your own life, right? Are you trying to be noticed and to be one of the crowd, and to follow the crowd that are following something created on social media that was originally designed to bring traction to the person who invented that concept, right? Or are you going to be, in your quiet time, unnoticed for years if need be, but developing necessary skills that are going to, like a bamboo tree, however many months or years under the earth, right? I can't remember, but I know the analogy. And then suddenly it shoots up and it's incredible, right? So if you want to do Inktober and that's what enriches your life, amazing. I wish you the best. Fantastic. But if you really want to get good at hand-drawn animation, ask yourself, how effectively and efficiently are you utilizing your time? Because as the old saying goes, energy goes where energy flows, where attention goes. So if your attention, even for 1 month, 30 days, is just on one of the laws of animation, think just how much more supercharged and turbocharged you'll be. But sacrifice has to be made. And sacrifice is a very misunderstood law. The law of sacrifice isn't giving up something that is good. The law of sacrifice is replacing something of a lower nature with that of a higher nature, right? So a passing whim to do something for a moment's pleasure or a moment's stress relief of feeling of significance or part of a community, which will soon end up being upon you again, the separation, the loneliness, the despair, the isolation, the frustration, the loathing, the self-loathing of one's ability. These things, is merely satisfying a tiny whim or fancy to run away from that enough, right? Is that of a higher nature, or is transforming yourself so that you mentally and physically journey into a new dimension where you are no longer insecure, you are no longer incapable, you are no longer ignorant, and you truly do have the skills that you once dreamed of having. And I can illustrate that right here, because even when I was working 20 years in the industry, right, I never dreamed that I would be able to draw and animate the beast, right, so effortlessly while casually talking on a live stream, right, completely clean, right. This took me a few hours on a live stream, right. So what I'm talking about isn't just some motivational trash like a band-aid. I'm hoping to get through to a small percentage of you who truly value yourself and see yourself as the real deal, and to say you are more than capable of attaining the things that you're perhaps procrastinating because there's a subconscious feeling of not being worthy enough, not being able enough, not being skilled enough, not, somebody else is it, and you'll never be that, but you may be average at best. All these kind of stupid conversations we have with ourselves when we're under the spell of inadequacy, right? And you gotta, when you choose your activities, I highly encourage you to choose activities that are life transformational activities rather than temporary relief activities, right? Dopamine fixes, escapism, right? And that little bit of sacrifice of surrendering something of a lower nature for that which is of a much higher nature will render you a superpower that will truly transform you and take you to a place mentally where once like they call it the red pill, once you've tasted that, you can never go back, right? You can never go back. It's kind of like the way I am. Some people say, oh, you got all these strong opinions and all these harsh views about things. Why don't you just call it good? Because I'm sorry, I've got to a level now where I'm too bloody good to find it good. I just can't. I can't go back. I can't look at that stuff. I can't look at 90s Disney animation anymore and be as impressed as I used to. Right? I just can't. I can appreciate it. I can call it good. But if I really want to look at great animation, I'll have to go to the 50s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And I'm an 80s man. I keep saying I make Gen X content, right? But if we're talking from an animation point of view, like what kind of stuff is strong animation, it's hard for me. So those of you that are thinking of that really want to do this, right? I'm not even trying to sell you my program right now. I'm just trying to help you with your mindset, right? If any of you are embarking on doing some trend on social media, stop and think and ask yourself, why am I taking part in this trend? What's my why? What's my why? Why am I doing this? What's my ROI? ROI means return on investment, right? Return on investment in your time, which is more valuable than your money. What's my ROI? Why am I going to spend a month of my life following a trend? Am I really doing this to improve my drawing? Because if it was the case, why do I have to wait till October and call it Inktober, right? Again, please do not get defensive, those of you that want to do Inktober, right? Do it. Amazing. Fantastic. Get the motivation from it. Wonderful. But I'm not specifically talking to those of you who are so inspired by that. I'm talking to the ones who perhaps are really frustrated. People with my mindset, people who would cry in their sleep because they wanted to be so good at this thing. I'm telling you, you can. You literally can, right? It's not that hard. All right, I haven't heard that for a while. The Gordon Ramsay of animation. What do you think of Dragon Ball Z classic animation? Awful. That's one of my. I understand that it's cult. It's iconic. It's got a huge fan base. It's got some appeal to it. There has to be something about it, but I, for the life of me, can't see. Like, as a martial artist, as somebody that used to be a martial arts instructor, I love combat animation. But I cannot see anything in Dragon Ball Z. I find the design quite proportionately ugly. Like, I think you might be the guy that said Gracie Goodbear was Uncanny Valley. Fair play to you. I understand that and I respect that. Thank you for taking the time to share with me. I know that when you say something, it's in the greatest of interest towards me because we harmonize. And not everybody's going to like the same thing. But me, on the similar thing, I look at Dragon Ball Z and I'm like, whoa, that is butt ugly. So perhaps that's just a taste manner thing. But animation-wise, it's non-existent. Literally, I don't see the appeal. You're talking about the one where the little Goku guy was a little kid and he was training and he was fighting these Bruce Lee type people and beating them up. I've seen it. I've seen a few episodes. I can't say that. Yeah, I don't even think. Yeah, it's just wrong in place. It's just wrong from my eye. Okay, so we hit this pose, right? So we've looked. I'm not going to draw any more onto that because this has spanned 2 live streams. I haven't seen JoJo Bizarre Adventures. The designs are ugly. I like Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop has got some great animation, great design, great storyboards, great direction, stunning looking show. Haven't watched them all, but I'm very, very... And also, as a martial artist, the guy does Jeet Kune Do. I'm not only a martial artist, I'm a hardcore Bruce Lee devotee. A lot of my philosophy, which inspired me to get into philosophy, was through him. When I look at the movements of the central character in Cowboy Bebop, the dancing, the shaking around, I nod my head in appreciation. Now that is pretty darn good as far as that's a TV show. So that's an amazingly animated TV show. I respect you, man. You're really passionate for animation. Even when we think different, I think we can learn a lot of you. Thanks for being honest. My pleasure. And as I said, I respect you as well. I totally get why you don't want me to do Gracie Goodbear. As much as I like drawing this stuff, I would much rather be doing my Alpha Man or my Groundhopper. But you know what? If I found an audience of people that like Gracie Goodbear, and it means AMB animation, more AMB animation, then that's awesome. And you know what? I don't hate doing it. Like I said, I like it. I enjoy doing it. I don't think things age. When you say things age, it means it just gets better, like wine. Like, I find it amusing when people talk about old animation and they go, it holds up well today. I'm thinking, like, who are you? It holds up well today? What exactly being produced today is any good? So if it holds up well today, it must mean it's bloody amazing. But I think people like being in a house full of animals that shit everywhere and poo everywhere and their hair and they've got bugs. You become nose blind. So I think people have been conditioned for the past 20 years on CG glossy turds bullshit. So they really look at old stuff and go, oh, it's aged and it holds up well today. And it's like, from my point of view, it's like, okay, you've been schooled for AI. Because that's essentially all that's been going on over the past 10 years, especially with, think about it, calling Disney CGI remakes of 2D films live action remakes when they're clearly not live action. Look at the bigger picture. Look at how they're trying to indoctrinate you, to school you to accept a certain look as real. So when AI comes, it's going to be acceptable. It's going to be expensive when it's not. It's going to be classy when it's not. It's going to be quality when it's not. The only thing it is current, and it's current crap. So with due respect, when you say things have aged, to me, that means they look 10,000 times better than when they were made. Because comparatively, they're against the biggest hulking, steaming piece of turd, which is the present stuff being made now, which is overly computerized trash. I haven't seen Trigun, so thanks for that. Thanks for the heads up on that. I know you've talked about paper animation before. I've learned digital drawing animation first, and for the first time I did paper, I felt like part of my brain was unlocked. Okay, do it on paper first. Look, I've got my new employee. He's working on the drawing board right here, right? So what you need to learn is you need. Oh yeah, I might sell some of these Gracie Good Bears, by the way. You need to learn how to hold the paper and flip it, and you need to learn how to hold a number of pages between your hands, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And get used to rolling them like that, right? Then flipping like so. Flip one, hold the two together, and flip and hold the other one underneath, right? So I'm looking at this. Then I hold the two together, and now I'm looking at the one underneath, right? So you need to get used to this and do it with your left hand or the hand that's not drawing, so you're drawing while you're doing it, right? Because I promise you, if you learn to draw and animate on paper, this will be... Have you ever really seen me using layers? Have you ever really seen me cutting out bits of body parts and rotating them? Sometimes I'll do it just to save time, scale something down a bit. Have you ever seen... No, I just draw badass drawings like that. And part of it is because I spent most of my life doing this on paper. It was so funny when I put my animation on the Facebook, somebody went, "Now do it on paper, mate. Now do it on paper." As if doing it like this was completely invalidated the whole thing. Like, I love interacting with people online. They're so funny. But it's like I said, instead of doing it, I'm not saying you're the guy that does Inktober, but instead of doing Inktober, animate on paper for a month. Develop the brain cells. I always tell my daughter, nothing in this world is difficult. It's just unfamiliar. And your unfamiliarity and frustration with that calls it difficult. And until you get familiar with it, it will never appear to be simple. I know you've talked about paper. Okay, still doing paper on the side for fun. Always do it for fun, but also do it because doing paper is like doing press-ups and doing pull-ups if you want to get fit, right? You don't do pull-ups you do pull-ups to get strong, but hopefully you do it for a goal. Like if you're a climber or something like that, you just do it because you want to have functional strength, right? So animate on paper to be a better artist. Draw on paper to be a better artist. Trust me. Trust me. When you see me drawing digitally, but I'm always filling sketch pads. The dwarfs in Snow White remake were abominations. I think you're being too kind with that word. What do you think of the art of Avatar? Avatar, you mean the James Cameron film? Okay, before I come up, like this has gone on way too long. It's 5:30 here. I am going to come off stream, but okay, so we've taken some live action reference and we've made some poses out of it. We've done a lot of talking today, but I mentored somebody online, which was great, and I hope I really switched the light bulb in them. So that was awesome. So it was a really productive stream in that regard, but we get a lot less drawing done today. But I'm going to be working on that. I'll knock that out. That's an afternoon's work. I'll in between all that and knock that out off stream. So Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now you have mentioned something which I thought had really good TV animation. I didn't think. That had really nice designs, really nice TV animation, and I really wanted to like it. I wanted, every time I saw it, when it used to come on TV, I used to catch it and go, that looks amazing for a TV cartoon. And like they've studied like all these Shaolin forms. They're doing proper Shaolin forms, and I'm going, wow, I really want to watch that. And the little bits I caught of it they held my interest. So it was on Netflix or Disney or one of those, and I said, let's watch it. Unfortunately, when the opening came, it was so insincere and full of so much, okay, they're trying to be humorous. They're filling the script with these bad, witty jokes that I'm not finding funny, to the point where it just got on my nerves that I said, you know what? Great design, great drawings, great animation for TV, but I'll be damned if I waste my time. I just can't. If you're not going to take your show seriously, I'm not going to take it seriously. Either you make an epic, badass, martial arts, magical cartoon, or you make an episode of Friends. I don't want both. That's why for me they destroy movies like Treasure Planet with characters like Ben the robot. They destroy movies like Atlantis with the cook and all that. But I can forgive those because they don't. They still kind of fit in a little bit. But for me, like, I just saw the opening scene where the two characters were in a boat in that first episode, and I said, I think I am not going to bother with this show. Not for me. Not for me. I've got better things to do with my time than listen to bad script writer thinking they're witty and funny, right? I've worked on too much shit like that in the past, right? I've worked on Lego shows. I've worked on Mad Hatter Chronicles, which was, to me, the scripts were reminding me of Mad Hatter Chronicle scripts. Again, I've worked on TV animation. So I'm not trying to patronize you guys. If you like Avatar, great. But I know the kind of people that write this stuff. And I've spent years of my life storyboarding that kind of shitty writing and hating every moment of it and trying to make my storyboards the best I could in spite of the shit writing. And no matter how great the storyboard was, when I watched the final product with its badly executed version of my boards, which was the CG in a cartoon like Mad Hatter, I would literally not be able to watch the show. So, heck, I've worked on a Wes Anderson movie. A lot of people love Wes Anderson. They're like, you worked on Fantastic Mr. Fox? I'm like, I barely sat through it. I didn't enjoy it was very sincere. It's his unique auteur style, not my thing. So, the Avatar cartoon, while I respect the designs, I respect the animation, from an animation standpoint, wonderful, I don't think I've ever sat through a single episode. Not for me. So that's my view of that. Last Airbender, Korra. I don't care if CGI is in something. I'm not going to hate something because it's got CGI in it. I like the design and drawing of Korra, but again, I haven't watched it. So, what would be your ideal TV show cartoon catered to kids? To a more mature... The Legend of Prince Valiant, because it was more mature. You had very sincere voice acting. They weren't putting on silly voices. Like, bless Nelvana, they're dead now. They did an adaptation of Hergé's Tintin. Great, but the voice acting was so bad that, oh my god, Snowy, Snowy, just sounded awful. Like, how am I supposed to take that seriously? Those Tintin comic books are so well designed, and those cartoons they made had great music, great layouts, great... I was ready to go all in, but oh my god, Snowy, Captain, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not gonna take that seriously. So for me, a show like The Legend of Prince Valiant, the use of language in Prince Valiant is amazing. I mean, the script, I happily filled your grumbling belly when it was empty. Why do you repay me with lies? What is this? An arrow like this should be through your hearts. And then they will say, why not you kill us and be done with it? I can't remember, but there's such Shakespearean, poetic, well scripted dialogue. For me, the only thing that lets it down is the awful animation. So sometimes unforgivable. But I'm used to seeing animatics and rough storyboards, and if the story and script is intact, the writing, the voice acting, the music's on point, I'll have the patience for it. But seriously, I would, again, cartoons like Brave Star has its flaws. It's got bad voice acting. It's very poorly animated. But I give it a pass, partly because, yes, I grew up with it. But I would be if I was ever given the chance to reboot Brave Star, I would love to do that. So I don't know if there are many TV cartoons that are available that I personally like that would cater for mature audiences. Obviously there are. People love that thing on Netflix. What's it called? Arcane. I haven't seen a single episode. Love, Death and Robots. Again, I haven't seen a single episode. So again, it's just opinion, right? You can listen to me for getting to be a great animator, but when we talk about absorbing content that you affiliate with and relate to, I can't even begin to tell you what to like. That's just ridiculous, right? Castlevania on Netflix reminded me a little bit of the old original Vampire Hunter D. I would love to redo Prince Valiant, but I would redo it. The way I would redo it with Prince Valiant is I would keep the voice acting, I would keep the music, and I would keep the designs, but just slightly change them. And but I would just re-edit it and reanimate it personally. Many of the European cartoonists are amazing. Jean Giraud, yes, Mobius. I'll tell you what was amazing. Also, was that Little Nemo, that Japanese animated Little Nemo, came out in 1988. And for me, while it doesn't have quite match the character animation of The Little Mermaid, overall, it is stronger in many areas. It has better background design, far better background design. It had Mobius working on it. It had Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, two of the 9 old men, consulting with the Japanese animators to get better character animation out of it. So that Little Nemo in Slumberland is a very impressive piece of work. I haven't watched all of it yet. I'm watching it in stages because I'm pushed for time and I've never really been able to see it. I've always heard about it and it's free on YouTube. But what I have seen of it so far, story-wise, you can have an opinion, anybody's opinion, but visually, I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Probably the best character animation I've ever seen from a Japanese film. I haven't seen a Japanese project with character animation that appealing. It is extremely well done. So, right, on that note, I'm going to go because we've had 2 live streams now. So I don't know how these are going to work when we're done. I mean, am I going to leave them up or whatever? This is just the second half of my other live stream. So remember, paper is king. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Always and forever keep it real. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake. That little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it and the skies will clear. And then from your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. And just before I go, I've got another one for you. For those of you who are thinking of moving forward, but you just can't seem to get over all of the effort you've put into the wrong thing, perhaps. Listen. That slight misdeed of yesterday, why should it mar today? That thing he said, that thing you did, is long since passed away. For yesterday was but a trial, today you shall succeed, and all the mistakes of yesterday shall become some noble deed. Forget the failure and misdeeds, from such experience lies. Why should you let your head be bowed? Lift up your heart and eyes. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all on the next live stream. Bye-bye.